What is good, YouTube skate fam? I am coming back at you today with another episode of The Process. So I want to document this journey, learning inverts. I am not hand-on coping yet, but after my most recent session with them, this is, by the way, the third session that I work on them, and it's not a dedicated session. Like, I don't go to the park and say, I'm gonna do inverts today. It's just part of the session. It's a little bit of the session. And yesterday, this previous session, it was super hot. It was exhausting. The sun really hits you differently. And you probably know this if you skate in an area that it's really hot. It can be dry or humid, and the sun is just beating on you. I mean, when it's 90s plus and that sun is out without any overcast, it really gets you. It was wearing down on me. I was working on some backside airs previously to switching over to inverts, and I was really pushing myself, but there was a point where I was like, I feel physically exhausted. So I was super hydrated and I was doing all the right things. I was able to skate and had a nice good session. But anyway, switch over to inverts, and I think if I would have started and went there with the goal to get this invert on this smaller quarter pipe, that I probably could have got pretty close to coping. But because I was so mentally and physically exhausted, I didn't get there. I got to my highest chalk mark, which, by the way, I should do an episode for you on why to use chalk and when to use chalk. But chalk is an excellent tool for when you're learning things and want to baby step towards, like, for example, baby stepping towards the coping with while learning inverts. But anyway, I think I really have this dialed in, and what I'm going to call this is an inverted hand turn, because it's not an invert. I'm not at coping. I'm definitely not stalling it out or anything. That's going to come later. The first thing's going to be a quick hand-on coping, board in the air, back in the transition, you roll away. I'll work on stalling it and all that later on, if I ever even get there. I might be stoked just to get hand-on coping, and we'll stick with that. But I think I figured this trick out. So some people might even say, hey, I'm satisfied with the hand turn like you're doing and getting an inverted hand turn. So I want to kind of break it down. You're going to see some footage from this most recent session. And what I found was, as I got tired, they started getting worse and I wasn't progressing, which is why I made the decision to stop and move on to something else and just kind of have fun for the rest of my session. But anyway, I saw in the video that as soon as I went for that highest line and I got one, I started trying to go higher than the line, and I wasn't. I was psyching myself out. I was actually going lower than my highest chalk line, and I was clipping, or I wasn't landing it, or I was spinning out and sliding out. So I stopped and said, look, you got to be smart with this. This was a point of exhaustion. Switch on, do something else. But I want to break down what I already figured out, and I think if I would have went in fresh, knowing what I know now, that's why videoing and looking back and reflecting, I mean, do you guys do that as well? Do you reflect on your session and improve from it? Like the reflection actually helps you be better? I'm trying to look at video during the session instead of afterwards and study it, because I'm like, you're here now skating. I hate driving home or looking at the video later on and saying, wow, why didn't I do that? I try to do it at the park while I'm in the moment. But basically, it's not that difficult. It's going to be more of a head game for me anyway. So going to get low, like you see in the videos. I'm grabbing Weddle, so tucked around the front knee with the lead hand. For me, I'm regular, so that's my left hand. Get low. And what's going to happen is, at your chalk line, you're going to place your hand. You place that hand this way, okay, as if it were thumb on coping, but you're going to be just on the ramp at first. And it's literally a turn. So you have the board, you click through coping, and you spin it around, and you're going back that way. So what you want to do, though, is commit to it only being a hand turn. Hand turns can start lower. You don't have to click through coping. You can start to where you're almost putting your hand right where the transition starts between the flat and the very up, or the very start of the transition. So start them there. And once you can do that, it's a matter of working your way up. You get the right amount of speed, you click through coping, and you hand turn back that way. I think that the higher you get up onto the coping or onto the ramp, the easier it should be to avoid clipping or sliding out and all that stuff. But it's mental, because when I work on airs, whether it be a slob air, turning front side, or a backside air, one of the things I always say before I start sending it above coping is, can you land lower than you took off? If so, it's okay to send it above coping, suck in, and hold it below. If you're landing higher than you take off, you're not ready to go over coping because you're gonna clip. So if I look at the video and I'm like, on the hand turns, I'm clicking off the coping, the board is over coping completely. My feet are over coping completely. And when I land, I'm coming in under coping. I think the higher you go up, the easier it will be to miss the coping. Number one, your hand's gonna be extended and you'll be able to lean this way farther away, giving you more space from the coping. And as long as you can commit mentally to it, I think, again, if I would have started with a goal to hit coping and gone there fresh with this is what I'm gonna do today, it would have happened, or it could have possibly happened. Maybe I'm wrong, I haven't done it yet, but I worked up to the highest chalk line that I put myself on, and I got a really clean one. So, hope you enjoyed this episode of The Process. Keep those things in mind, and we can learn this trick together. One tip I want to kind of drop before we go over to the video is, when you grab the board, pull it to your feet. The goal is to keep that board on your feet if you can. And with my feet, what I do, if this is my leg, I really try to keep my feet at a 90-degree angle. I don't want the toes kind of pointed. Keep them this way. Pulling on the board helps that happen. Suck the knees in. You don't want to be like legs extended. The tighter you can keep and the more squatted you can be in the movement is really going to help you come back in without clipping that coping. And then when you push with the hand, when you're coming back in, try to bring the board around to where you're going to pass right by your hand. You almost want to be afraid to run over your thumb. And that's okay, but because you're not going to do it. I haven't done it yet. I'm sure it can be done, but it's just going to help you land the trick. And when you're pushing back in with the arm, push straight. So you want to roll away that way. I think those tips are really going to help you. And then finally, I think the final tip is commit to doing the hand turn higher and higher and higher. Stay conscious, know what you're doing. Don't let yourself black out or bail. It's going to cause unnecessary knee slides and slams and bails. Those things add up and can cause injury actually. So commit to it. Commit to it's a hand turn higher and higher and higher. I find you have less chance of clipping as you go up. You just got to go in there fresh, not exhausted, and not with that sun was just beating down. It was really killing me. Commit to doing it. Commit to it being a hand turn at a higher point in the ramp towards coping, and you're going to do it. That's what I found every time. I said to myself as I'm approaching the ramp, okay, no matter how scary it is or whatever you're thinking is going to happen wrong, stop that, cancel it. Commit to doing this, and you're going to ride away, and it's going to feel good and smooth and clean, and that's what happened. You might say, well, why do you go back the other way? Because it's scary, and it's skateboarding, and I mean, it's fun at the same time, don't get me wrong, but that's one of the things I love about skating is the fact that it's so mental. It's such a mental process. I think those things I know those things actually carry over to other areas in life and help us be better overall as people. All right, hope you enjoyed this episode of The Process, and we're gonna keep documenting this until we get one hand-on coping. Peace, I'm out.
The crunchy level beef nacho.
Need inspiration? Shop King Sutures for over 30.
All right, hope you enjoyed this episode of The Process, and we're going to keep documenting this until we get one hand-on coping. Peace, I'm out.